Guys, you have no idea what just happened with Stalker 2. The new 1.7 update has arrived, and it completely changed the game. Like, no exaggeration, there are changes to the gameplay, the AI, the graphics, even the world's climate is different. I tested everything, and I can tell you, the heart of Chernobyl has never been so alive, or so dangerous. I'm Matthew, and stay tuned because the video is about to start. Update 1.7 for Stalker 2 Heart of Chornobyl brought a significant change to the A-Life system, which now allows factions to dynamically expand and lose territories. For those who enjoy the zone's atmosphere, this change is a great step toward giving the game world a more realistic and unpredictable life. Seeing factions disputing points of interest, checkpoints, and locations, instead of remaining static, truly increases the feeling that the zone is always alive, full of conflicts happening all the time. What catches my attention most is how this creates a much more tense and interesting dynamic during exploration. Imagine walking through a territory and realizing that not only human factions are at war, but also mutants defending their lairs. The fact that mutants actually protect their homes adds an extra layer of challenge and unpredictability. It's no longer just about avoiding or fighting hostile NPCs, it's about understanding that you're entering a living war zone, where strategies and territorial conquest are constantly evolving. Another point I found quite cool is that points of interest, checkpoints, and other strategic locations are now disputed, except for the main hubs, which keeps the focus on areas of risk and action. This means that exploring the map itself is no longer a simple stroll, but an exercise in caution and observation, as any territory can change hands and quickly transform your tactical situation. This strongly reminds me of the faction conflicts in the older Stalker games, only now with much greater vibrancy and depth. When playing with this update, you get that feeling that your actions, or simply passing through an area, can influence that balance of power. There is no longer that sense of a frozen world just waiting for you to do a mission. This made me pay more attention to the movements and behavior of the NPCs, who now seem to genuinely react to an inner life within the game, with wars happening without my direct interference. This significantly raises the level of immersion and realism of the experience. This enhancement to the A-Life system in version 1.7 is one of those changes that fans of the series will love for making the zone vibrant and unpredictable. It's a natural evolution for a game so focused on survival in a brutal and constantly transforming environment. The interaction between factions and mutants disputing territory makes every playthrough unique, full of surprises and tension, which is exactly what a Stalker franchise game should deliver. It's the type of update that not only improves gameplay, but makes you feel like you are truly inside the heart of the zone. The introduction of the Master difficulties and the Expedition mode in Update 1.7 raises the challenge to a new level, especially for players seeking a brutal and uncompromising experience. Master is an extreme test, where mutants and NPCs become much more aggressive and lethal, resources are scarce, and item durability drops considerably. Furthermore, the restriction of saving progress only in hubs or during main missions brings constant tension. Every decision and combat must be played with great caution, as one mistake can mean going back a long way. This difficulty is for those who truly want to feel the zone as an unforgiving place, where only the most skilled survive. On the other hand, the Expedition mode adds an extra layer of challenge to any difficulty level, severely limiting where and when you can save. Leaving the safe zone and facing the wild immensity means that every movement matters, and the idea of saving the game anytime disappears. The interesting detail is that, to activate this mode, it is necessary to start a new campaign, which makes the experience even more immersive and fresh for veterans looking for something different. The pressure of not being able to save frequently intensifies the sense of risk and the need to strategically plan every step in the zone. Both modes drastically change the way Stalker 2 is played. Master strictly demands mastery of combat, resource management, and environmental knowledge to survive, while Expedition challenges patience and perseverance, eliminating practically any security the player might have from frequent saving. For those who enjoy survival games and want that constant adrenaline, these additions are pure gold, because they translate the real feeling of the zone as a wild and relentless territory, where death carries a greater weight. The save restriction in Master hinders any casual approach, forcing the player to consider every encounter much more seriously. Expedition, when applied to any difficulty, even the easiest, requires a different gaming mentality, almost like a roguelike, where the focus is on persevering with wisdom and maximizing every resource and movement. This mechanic brings freshness to the gameplay, as it eliminates the possibility of abusing the save-load system to correct errors, elevating the feeling of challenge and consequence. Overall, these changes in difficulty certainly redefine what it means to survive in Stalker 2. The initiative to create an ultra-realistic master difficulty and an expedition mode that limits saves demonstrates the developer's commitment to expanding the immersion and authenticity of the zone. If you are a fan of a pure challenge, these novelties will make every gaming session a true battle of nerves and skills, where only the most prepared and cautious stalkers will have a chance to triumph in the relentless heart of Chornobyl. The update brought notable improvements to combat and enemy perception, which, for me, greatly increased the immersion and tension of battles in the zone. Previously, it often seemed like enemies could see through everything, but now they genuinely have difficulty detecting the player when you are in tall grass or among reeds, which makes stealth in swamp and bush areas much more efficient and satisfying. This change makes using the environment as a defense element a viable and exciting strategy. One of the things I found most realistic is how NPCs and mutants started to flank more and retreat when they perceive a disadvantage. This gives a sense of tactical intelligence that was previously lacking, making every combat feel like a survival struggle where enemies think about how to win and adapt. It's not just shooting and running, but a mental game to position yourself and take advantage of the terrain. This makes combat much more dynamic and unpredictable, which is a delight for those who enjoy strategic challenges. Furthermore, enemy accuracy in shooting through bushes has been reduced, which makes natural cover truly work as a defense. This change adds a lot to creating tense moments in ambushes or when you are trying to approach stealthily. The feeling of being seen or not now depends more on your positioning and less on almost automatic detection, making the gameplay fairer and more rewarding for those who use stealth. Another very cool point is the new combat and death animations added to the enemies, which make confrontations visually more impactful and realistic. Seeing mutants reacting and falling in varied ways, with movements that reinforce the unpredictability of the zone, helps to reinforce that dark and brutal atmosphere of the Stalker universe. The update not only improves gameplay, but also enriches the atmosphere, making battles seem more raw and intense. These changes to combat and enemy perception in 1.7 brought a freshness that left me more involved in the zone than ever. The artificial intelligence feels alive and adaptive, and the use of stealth pays off organically, without you feeling like the game is simply punishing or favoring you. It's an update that values the balance between challenge, immersion, and the feeling of being in a truly hostile and unpredictable environment, just the way Stalker should be. The overhaul of the stamina system in Update 1.7 seems to me to be one of the most impactful changes for those who enjoy the realism and challenge of survival in the zone. Now, you have a, quote, second sprint, which allows you to run for longer, something that greatly changes the dynamics of movement and escape in tense situations. This is great because before, running out of stamina quickly slowed down the pace of the game too much. And this new mechanic gives a better sense of endurance, almost as if the character had an extra reserve for emergencies. However, things get more interesting and realistic with the introduction of the side effects of energy drinks. If you overdo the dose, the character starts to feel tremors and shortness of breath, impairing your aim and making combat considerably more difficult. This sent me a clear message. The game is valuing moderation and planning. That extra run has its cost, and abusing resources does not bring easy advantages as in many other games. This adds a risk-reward element that makes the experience more tense and authentic. Furthermore, the stamina system has been completely rebalanced to bring more equilibrium. It's no longer a simple meter that runs out quickly and only returns slowly. Now it seems more integrated with the character's physical condition and the environment you face, which reinforces the feeling that running, jumping, and moving has a real price within the zone. This elevates the gameplay for those who like to think about the logistics of survival, where every action demands attention. The impact of these changes is directly reflected in the playing style. The new system encourages more careful movement strategies, avoiding constant sprinting and the reckless use of energy drinks. This creates a rhythm that mixes moments of tension where you need to manage resources and stamina with bursts of action where the use of the second sprint can save your skin. It's a delicate balance between endurance and vulnerability that, for me, only enriches the immersion. The stamina overhaul with the new second sprint and the effects of energy drinks in Update 1.7 brings a necessary and very welcome freshness to Stalker 2. These changes reinforce the idea that the zone is a place where everything has consequences, and only the attentive and controlled stalkers can efficiently dominate the hostile environment. This makes the game more realistic, tense, and, above all, rewarding for those who like an authentic survival challenge. The update brought a much-welcomed overhaul to the inventory section and equipment statistics, a change that, for me, greatly improves the clarity and management of resources during the game. The redesigned inventory now shows much more precise details about the protection of each piece, such as armor, helmets, and artifacts, including the wear and tear that occurs. This removes the uncertainty of how much does this piece really protect me, and makes you better plan when and how to use or replace your equipment. Artifacts and consumables also received special attention, now classified into 5 distinct levels of stats, which helps to clearly differentiate the utility and risks of each item. This distinction is important because it's not just a matter of picking up any artifact or consumable that looks good. You need to better assess the cost-benefit, as each one has unique effects that can impact your radiation and resistance in the game. The added radiation bar is a brilliant touch to further balance this management, as it visually shows how much you are being exposed and if you are reaching the limit. Furthermore, the detailed calculation of protection and wear brings more realism and strategy to the system. Now, when your armor wears down, you see in the inventory itself how this affects your defense, eliminating the guesswork that happened before. This made me pay more attention to the condition of the equipment and value repairs or replacements, increasing the immersion and the weight of the player's decisions in daily survival in the zone. I also felt that this overhaul helps to make the game more accessible without losing depth. Veteran players will find more detailed tools to optimize their setups, while those just starting out can better understand the mechanics behind protection, radiation, and artifact usage. This clarity in the inventory greatly helps to keep the focus on exploration and combat without getting lost in confusing or poorly explained menus. The introduction of the new Anomalies anti-gravitational drops and Steam in Update 1.7 adds an extra layer of mystery and challenge that won me over right away. The anti-gravitational drops are water droplets that defy gravity and rise instead of falling. And the most curious thing is that they are harmless. This anomaly brings an almost hypnotic beauty to the zone, like a small visual spectacle offering an aesthetic respite amidst the tense and dangerous atmosphere of the game. It's a detail that, although without direct threat, contributes to increasing the unique and surreal atmosphere of the exclusion zone. The Steam anomaly, on the other hand, is quite different and brings a very concrete element of danger. It is scalding vapor that can both heat and burn anyone who gets too close. The extra touch that I found sensational was the use of a bolt to test the anomaly in the game, which shows the developer's attention to detail and the desire to make these areas not just a visual obstacle, but something that interacts convincingly with the environment and objects. This type of vapor creates higher risk zones, where getting too close, even by carelessness, can result in serious damage. These new anomalies have a direct impact on exploration, as they force the player to be always attentive to the details of the environment and to deal with threats that are both visual and functional. They not only create unique points of interest on the map, but also require a little more patience and planning when passing through them, something that reinforces the immersion and the tense atmosphere of survival in the zone. The mixture of beauty and danger creates a striking contrast that well defines the Stalker universe. Furthermore, the insertion of these anomalies reflects the developer's commitment to expanding the complexity and diversity of the zone's ecosystem. It is not only mutants and factions that represent danger, but now the environment itself offers unique challenges that test your reflexes, attention, and courage. This keeps the experience fresh, even for those who already know the franchise universe well, as new threats and wonders constantly appear to surprise. The anti-gravitational drops in Steam are perfect examples of how Update 1.7 makes the zone even more alive and full of elements that mix beauty with imminent danger. It's the kind of detail that makes a stalker's heart beat faster, in that mixture of fascination and fear that defines the essence of this iconic series. These anomalies reinforce the feeling that the zone is a unique place, where survival is a constant challenge, but which also reserves moments of disquieting beauty. The arrival of official mod support in Stalker 2 via the Zone Kit is, without a doubt, a monumental change for the game and the entire community. Having an official tool that manages not only the creation, but also the integration and balance of mods brings enormous confidence for those who like to customize the experience. For me, this represents a step beyond simple amateur modding. It is a professional structure that will ensure that mods work well together, avoiding those conflicts that often break the game. The highlight of this system is the automatic detection of conflicts between mods. In practice, this avoids that classic installation headache, where separate mods end up overlapping and causing technical problems. Having this functionality built into the Zone Kit makes both creators and players have a much smoother and more reliable experience when using mods. I see this as a huge gain for the game's longevity, as it keeps the environment more stable and accessible. Another point I found fantastic is the direct integration with the Steam Workshop and the possibility of selective downloads. This gives the player total control to choose what they want to add to the game, without having to go through complicated or manual processes. It's a change that democratizes access to mods, making installation and updating simple and even encouraging for those who are learning. The ease of experimenting with different weapons, quests, and other customizations makes exploring the zone even more unique with each playthrough. Furthermore, the existence of an official tool opens the doors to a new era of community content. Talented modders will have the resources to create more complex and profound modifications, from exclusive equipment to personalized narratives that enrich the game's universe. This creative freedom promotes a virtuous cycle where the community feeds the game with new experiences, and players gain an almost infinite range of possibilities to stay engaged. Finally, this news shows the developer's commitment to keeping Stalker 2 alive, up to date, and constantly evolving. More than just releasing official updates, they are stimulating collective creativity, which is essential for the longevity of any open world or survival title. For those who, like me, like to explore beyond the original content, the Zone Kit is an exciting promise that the Zone will continue to renew and surprise for many years to come.
Here, chill, boys.
Are you nuts? This ain't a graveyard. Get out of here, you son of a...